Got everybody we need here? All right, Dr. Highlander, can you hear me there?
He's on mute.
Is he muted?
Yeah, and it won't let me unmute him. I won't let me unmute him, it should.
Somebody text him.
Now, y'all know we got the least tech-savvy
I know,
board member on technology right now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yay!
All right. Dr. Highlander, we're getting ready to start. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Mrs. Ford, will you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Chairman Wingate,
Here.
Vice Chairman McClendon,
Here.
Dr. Highlander,
Here.
Mrs. Hill,
Here.
Mrs. Jones,
Here.
Mr. Perez,
Here.
Mrs. Robinson,
Here.
Mr. Smith,
Here.
Mrs. Thurman,
Here.
Ms. Tidmore, Superintendent Dr. Johnson.
Here.
All right, I have the following request to amend our agenda. Under item Roman numeral 6, delegations, we will scratch Miss Jeanette O'Markale. She will not be here tonight. And we have a request to add Mr. Kevin Lloyd. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Mrs. Ford?
Dr. Highlander,
Here, yes.
Mrs. Hill,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. McClendon,
Yes.
Mr. Perez,
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Here.
Mrs. Thurman,
Yes.
Chairman Wingate.
Yes. All right, for our pledge to the flag and our meditation this afternoon, we'll have Miss Jennifer Brownlee, the interim principal of Harrison Elementary School.
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good evening, Chairman Wingate, school board members, Dr. Johnson, and Hamilton County leadership. First, on behalf of the entire Harrison Elementary School community, thank you for your support and hard work in providing such a beautiful new facility for our Hamilton County students. For some students, it is the most beautiful place in the world, and feeling safe and inspired will surely support the rich academic and social-emotional development that our teachers provide. As we prepare our hearts and minds tonight for the hard work and the hard decisions that you have ahead of you, I wanted to share a student's story with you. But in order to do that, I need you to first become a Harrison student. As a Tennessee STEM designated school, one of the components we embrace to raise student achievement is the design challenge. The engineering design process engages students in collaboration, critical thinking, creativity, and communication to complete a real-world task. I have that here just for you. Your mini challenge is to use the materials that Mrs. Phillips is bringing to you to design a water filtration system that answers the following question. How will you use these natural materials to clean this water for our community? You can use any of the resources I have provided. Your most challenging parameter tonight is that you will only have 90 seconds.
To clean it?
You have a lot of work to do. Sorry, Dr. Highlander, I should have sent them to you. On your mark, get set,
Oh, I
go.
started early. Clean water, girl.
Filter the
Clean water.
Filter the water.
Good try.
I don't know, I'm using it all. I'm building a wetland. Yeah, I am.
I have no idea.
I didn't notice.
Come on, District 6.
90 seconds. This ain't fair.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's going over the top. that,
So gonna
I'm gonna get the
win.
junk out of it first.
You know what that means, Marco?
Miss Bradley, you supposed to give me the out. You know, I'm
That's
supposed
the
to know.
teacher's way of saying, Marco, that's
Let's try again.
You know, have you considered a career in finance?
oh no, mine looks the same.
Are we ready to pour in there? Is that what
I was gonna win, I was sure.
Oh, that's garbage.
If we redo it again.
She says it's pretty impressive.
I don't know. I wasn't a science major. I'm a social worker. I was, but it kept falling through.
I'm here to represent for
That's
District
okay.
6.
Let me go back to what I was thinking. I got another one.
Also, I watched Survivor.
Yes, Survivor Man.
Not Survivor Man.
First of all, my
I watched
violin.
Survivor.
Ah,
All I'm doing is make this damn movie.
All right, time's almost up.
oh,
That don't work.
Marco
Figure
was
it
a
out.
Need my
late.
photo taken with my fabulous.
Sorry,
Solution.
Marcia, you weren't supposed to hear that.
No, they got sand and rocks.
Thank you.
All right, so how will you know if you're successful? You take your dirty water, compare it to your clean water.
It's still
If
dirty.
your water is cleaner, you were successful. So you can applaud. And we have totally clean water over here because we bypassed the system.
Who won?
Tiffany actually created water.
Tiffany, you can't do that.
She did use
They
her
didn't give her no bottle of
resources.
water. They gave her this plate. She.
I think you did not echo the distribution
Every
of
school
water.
has a cheater.
That's right.
Another educator gave me the idea, so I feel like.
Well, they didn't know what they was doing.
She used her resources.
But they
She
didn't give her that, though.
collaborated.
That's what she put out her lunch bag.
So I'm going to bring this unruly bunch back to focus here. So we have the design process posted here, and this is something that we teach our students from pre-K all through 5th grade. But here's why it's important. Remember, I was going to tell you a story about a student. What you did is I addressed the problem. Some of you had a plan. Some of you collaborated. Some of you are still using your plan. You imagined what you could do. You created your model. And now you're ready to do that improved phase. But because it was a mini design challenge, we're not going to get to the improved phase. But let me tell you about an experience I had just last week. As you can imagine, with the challenges of COVID, we have many students who've been out of school for a very long period of time. And as they've come back to school, we have faced some challenges with some of the trauma that they've experienced when their regular schedule has been disrupted. Because we do these challenges at every grade level, every other Wednesday, which, by the way, this correlates with the 3rd grade unit of study that we're doing at Harrison on water.
Are you as smart as a third?
That's right.
No.
You should, yeah, it's fantastic. I had the privilege to observe a class doing a design challenge similar to this one. And this is a student who, in the year 2020-2021, has had 4 different homes. And he's getting ready to go to his 5th home at the beginning of April. And typically, when he's presented with a task that's beyond his zone of proximal development, where we talk about how students may need just a little bit of support to be successful, his typical go-to is frustration, some of which you've experienced tonight as you were trying to complete this task in such a short period of time. Typically, his response would be to tear up his paper, throw it on the floor, get up, pace around the room, occasionally leave the classroom. But during a design challenge, because he's collaborating with a partner, he's able to be more successful because they work together to complete the task. But I think the thing that makes it different is not actually the engineering design process, but the design thinking process. And what that includes is it includes the role of empathy. And for this young man, his partner knows his challenges and the frustration that he sees him experience in class. And his partner said to him on this day, "It's okay, it's really hard, but I'm here to help you. We can do it together." And so that's my meditation for you tonight, is that with the role of empathy and the role of collaboration, together, you as our school board, us as Hamilton County educators, in partnership with our community and our parents, can do more together than we can do apart. So I appreciate all the emotion, thought, energy you put into making the hard decisions that impact the lives of these 44,000 children and their families. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Brownlee.
And you can take care of your water filters afterwards. You can keep them or throw them away. Thank you so much.
Oh, Jenny, you're
Chairman,
such a Chris.
Can I
Yes,
just make a
ma'am.
comment?
I feel water on my fingers.
Sorry. Principal Brownlee, I'm sorry, I just want to tell you really quickly, I have a number of neighbors who have children at your school, and I just want to tell you that on a regular basis, there's an email that goes out to our neighborhood email list complimenting the school and just the really phenomenal job that you and your team there are doing, so
Thank you so much.
it's really great.
It is an incredible team, so I appreciate that feedback.
Thank you. All right, next on our agenda here will be our exemplars of excellence, and I believe Dr. Justin Roberts, you can take it.
Thanks, Chairman Wingate. Members of the board, it's a great honor tonight to introduce to you guys the Teachers of the Year. They are joined here today with their principals, and to make it a little bit more personal, I've kind of put the principals on the spot and asked them if they would tell us a little bit about the teachers. So first, Ms. Lillian Matheson will be introduced by Ms. Gina Johnson.
Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce to you our first grade teacher, Lillian Matheson. Lillian teaches first grade at Big Ridge Elementary, and she has been teaching there for 5 years. And even though she only has 5 years of experience, she creates the most loving, nurturing environment for students to learn. And the students amaze me every day with what they do in her classroom. So she also goes above and beyond. She was just doing our after-school tutoring today. So it goes above and beyond for her students every day. So let's congratulate Miss Lillian Matheson as Teacher of the Year. So proud of you. So well deserved. Mr. Joe's coming up too. Thank you.
Lillian, you're going to want to hang around for a few more minutes, I promise you, okay? Okay. And also, for the 5 through 8 division, Ms. Cora Fisher, and she's going to be introduced by Lindsay Starnes, the principal at Clifton Hills Elementary.
Good evening. I'm Lindsay Starnes. I'm the principal at Clifton Hills Elementary School, and it is my pleasure to introduce Cora Fisher. She teaches 5th grade at Clifton Hills Math and Science. I had the privilege to hire her when I first became principal at Clifton Hills, and she is just phenomenal. I have a funny story. Just today, she is so engaging and always is creative and thinking of new ideas, so she did a room transformation for her kids. Well, the fire alarm kept on going off today because she had a fog machine in her room. So she's just always engaging, keeping kids excited about learning, but she also coaches other teachers. So she is sharing her practice, and we're just so thankful for her and what she does for our school and our kiddos. So congratulations, Cora. Thank you.
And Cora, again, you're going to want to hang out for a few more minutes. Finally, from the high school division, Miss Nancy Baxley from Signal Mountain Middle High School, and Dr. Shane Harwood is here to introduce Miss Baxley. Sorry.
Thank you. Good afternoon. As Dr. Robertson said, it's my privilege to introduce the Hamilton County High School Teacher of the Year, Nancy Baxley. Just a couple of things about Miss Baxley without going into details. She serves as our department chair in our Individuals and Societies, which is our social studies department at Signal Mountain Middle High School. She's been a part of our GAP program. She teaches AP classes and just does a lot for our school and wears many hats. But the thing that really sticks out the most to me again, without being too detailed, is just, she is an example of sacrifice that our teachers across this district have made to teach school this year. And we're just so proud of her. We're so appreciative of this recognition. And congratulations, Ms. Baxley.
And at this time, David Sikowski has joined us from the Chattanooga Area Schools Federal Credit Union. You guys know David well. He's a very big supporter of Hamilton County Schools and our teachers, so I'll give him a second to recognize these teachers.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Wingate, school board members, Dr. Johnson. It's a privilege to be here. A couple of years ago, Dr. Johnson came up with a great idea that when we had these teachers of the year, let's go above and beyond and try to recognize these folks. So we generally used to take these folks out to lunch on behalf of the credit union. And we would treat them nicely, and they were the center of the attention. So during COVID, we've not really been able to do that. So what we have decided to do is just take those monies that we would normally spend on that, and we just decided we'd give that to those teachers. So on behalf of the board of directors of our Chattanooga Area Schools Credit Union and our staff and myself, we're here today to present $250 to each one of these teachers as our appreciation for their hard work and dedication that they do each year. So I don't know whose chore it was to narrow it down to 3, because there's so many great educators within the school system that we have here. So that was a tough choice. I don't know who had to make that choice, but we're here to honor those 3 here today. So we've got $250 for each one of those teachers here today. So you guys will come back out here. We'll give you the money. I'll step out here in the front so that you guys can come out here and get your money. Oh, okay. There you go. There you go. Thank you. Enjoy.
Thank you guys very much. We appreciate your support. All right, and then you got Principal of the Year?
Yes, sir. Dr. Vance, if you and Ms. Sorrells would like to come in. Our Principal of the Year this year is Ms. Crystal Sorrells from East Ridge High School. See her mom with her.
Yay.
Apple doesn't fall far from the tree, huh? So pretty neat presentation of Ms. Sorrells. I'm not even going to say anything, but just to show you what type of principal she is. Her students went out of their way to do a little presentation video for her, so we're going to let the kids speak for her.
Too fast to prepare for this. Tripping in the world could be dangerous.
At East Ridge High School, our principal, Crystal Sorrells, has been chosen for the Principal of the Year award in Hamilton County and possibly in the whole state of Tennessee.
I think that was just the ultimate piece of excitement and such an honor. So humbled that my peers and my colleagues and my senior leadership thought enough of me to recognize me in that manner.
She has been a great principal at East Ridge and is very much deserving of this award.
This is not something that can be done in isolation, and so the work that I do is truly because I have a dynamic team, I have supportive teachers, amazing students, a community that loves and supports the work that we're doing. So it's really a show of a collective effort for us.
Ms. Sorrells engages with the students, helping them to feel more comfortable in the school environment, especially during COVID-19.
She's making life for the students here at East Ridge kind of comfortable. It's like, I want to come to school because I now have a great principal.
She has also helped the students and faculty feel motivated during the pandemic and has helped them through a lot.
I have to take the time to acknowledge one of your seniors who has inspired me. Because one of the things that happened today during our principal PD, mind you, 14 hours of Zoom over 2 days. Listen to it. But one of the questions they asked is, with everything going on in education, why do you do this? And I have to acknowledge this student because she very plainly reminded me why you're called to do this, why this is a ministry. This is not a job. You don't show up for this for a paycheck. You all inspire me every day.
Miss Sorrell's great principal. Like, ever since she's gotten here, more things have improved.
It's not just the students getting support from her. The teachers and administrators receive great leadership from the principal as well.
She is so bubbly, she is supportive, and she makes sure that everyone is taken care of and everyone gets appreciated. I just love working under Ms. Sorrells, and I know what good leadership looks like. And when a position came available, I was eager to come here.
She cares about the students' grades and progress throughout high school, and tries to connect with them so that they know she is a person here to help in times of need.
I think Ms. Sorrells is a good principal because she keeps all our teachers busy, having us work to do, and she just do the little simple stuff to keep us working and, get a good education.
Principal Sorrells has helped us all feel comfortable, improve ourselves, and progress positively in school.
Well, me, I like that when she throw us pep rallies and all the fun stuff. I like the fun stuff.
I think it's a really great school. We have a great faculty who actually care about their students and like doing their job.
In this way, she has brought students and faculty together and has created a more motivated and involved community at Eastridge High School.
That's kind of hard to follow that video, so I'll try to top that with giving her a little bit of money. I think that might help as well. So on behalf of the credit union, we want to give you $250 as well.
Thank you all.
Congratulations. Congratulations to all of you. It's good work. We'll have another presentation here, or recognition by Mr. Blake Freeman. Is he here? Okay. All right. Do we have Tara Kemp here tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, I'll jump in for Blake. We have the privilege in Hamilton County, as we just recognized Teachers of the Year, of having great teachers across content areas. And Ms. Kemp, for the Tennessee Council for Social Studies Teachers was recognized. Ms. Kemp's fourth grade teacher at DuPont Elementary, and we just want to say congratulations to you. We're so proud and humbled that you're in our district, and we appreciate the great work that you do for students every day, and the important work of teaching in the area of social studies, which is oftentimes an area that can be missed as we talk about math and we talk about English so much, and my gosh, your civics really important, and social studies, and really understanding all those elements. So thank you for what you do every single day.
Congratulations, Mrs. Kemp.
And right along that same line, I don't know if Ms. Baxley stepped out. Oh, she's back there. There you go, Ms. Baxley. It's a 2-for-1 day for Ms. Baxley, but I had the privilege of being able to go up to the mountain not long ago and seeing her in action for just a moment, and so appreciate just the work that you do. And Dr. Harwood said it well. You're a great example of sacrifice. We really thank you for what you do, and obviously being a phenomenal world history teacher. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Congratulations.
Ms. Baxley, you have the second certificate in your hands right now. I mean, yeah.
You got both of them.
A good school board member would have known to pace it out, but I wanted to give it to you right away.
You learning, you learning. You learning.
Chairman Wingate, I know it's not on the agenda, but I always think it's important. Our teachers are great and our leaders are, amazing, just the work they do, but it so plays out in students and what transpires in the classroom. And so our very own student advisory chairwoman and obviously school board representative, I just kind of heard through the grapevine, she talked about applying to one of her stretch universities. Or two of her stretch universities, and she got in. American was accepted. I think she just found out American University. So, Macy, want to take a moment to congratulate you on the job well done.
All right, always a good night when we recognize this many folks. All right, so that brings us to our delegations now. We'll have Mr. Kevin Lloyd.
Mr. Lloyd. Thank you.
Mr. Lloyd, if you'll just give your attention there to Mr. Tucker.
Yeah. Thank you for your interest in addressing the Hamilton County Board of Education. During your presentation, please address the board as a whole, not individual board members or administrators. Also, do not present complaints or concerns you have about individual employee of the school system. If you wish to voice those complaints and concerns, you should contact central office and ask for a meeting with the superintendent. If you are criticizing an individual employee, I will interrupt you and ask you to refrain. If you continue to criticize individual employees, or if your remarks are in error or becoming repetitive, I may interrupt you and ask you to sit down. Please limit your remarks to 5 minutes, and I will tell you when you have 1 minute left. You may begin when you are ready.
Hi, I'm Kelvin Lowen. I'm the owner of Mean Green Janitorial Service. I am a product of Chattanooga, Tennessee. I was born and raised in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I graduated from Howard High School. I did 12 years in the U.S. Navy. I am a disabled veteran that suffered from PTSD. I have made mistakes in my past, but my past is behind me. I have been in this business, growing this business for the last 11, 12 years, me, my wife, and my kids and my family. My daughter is an educator. I have a son in college. I have a kid in middle school. We work diligently. Not only that, I am a volunteer coach and mentor. I have volunteered in Ooltewah, the city of Chattanooga, in North Georgia. I have coached kids in the surrounding area for the last 12 years. I want to talk a little bit about my PTSD. My PTSD has caused me to make some mistakes in my life. Am I that same person? No, I'm not. For the last 12 years, I've been a productive citizen of Chattanooga, Tennessee. I have not made no mistakes. I've grown this business to 60 employees. I feed 60 families per day, 7 days a week. I diligently get out there myself to make this happen. So, in this process, I'm not perfect. I come to say that I'm no different than no one else that made mistakes in their life. America is built on second chances, and I come for a second chance, and I ask for a second chance. And I appreciate y'all giving me the opportunity. I will prove to you that I am a hard, diligent worker in this community, and that's who I've been for the last 12 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Mr. Lloyd.
All right, so before we get into our consent agenda, we have our board disclaimer statement. If anyone feels that they need to make that statement for any item that we might be voting on tonight, now would be the time to do that. Go ahead, Mr. Perez.
I'll make it, though I don't see any very specific items, but just as a cover in that sense. I declare that I, Marco Perez, declare that I have a spouse and sisters-in-law who work for the school system, and that the board's vote on anything regarding budget or policies may have an effect on my relative's employment. Even so, I hereby certify that I will cast my vote in the best interest of the school system.
All right.
That's Dr. Highlander.
Dr. Highlander. All right, hang on a second. Mrs. Jones, were you about to speak?
Yes.
Go ahead. And then Dr. Highlander, you can go after Mrs. Jones.
I declare that I have a brother-in-law who works for the school system and that the board's vote on budget, policies, et cetera, may have an effect on my relative's employment. Even so, I hereby certify that I will cast my vote in the best interest of the school system.
All right, Dr. Highlander.
I apologize for my laryngitis, but I will say I'm Dr. Steve Highlander. I have a daughter and son-in-law who work in the system, but I assure you all that whatever decisions I make will have no impact on the fact of my family relationship, and I appreciate the opportunity to say that. Thank you.
Mrs. Thurman.
I'll just say the same. This is I'm Rhonda Thurman. I declare that I have relatives who work in the school system and may have effect on, even though I will cast my vote for the best interest of the school system.
Okay. Mrs. Robinson, did you have?
I declare that I have a stepmother-in-law who works for the school system and that the board's vote on budget policies, et cetera, may have an effect on my relative's employment. Even so, I hereby certify that I will cast my vote in the best interest of the school system.
Okay, anyone else? All right, so as we get to the consent agenda, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Did you get those, Mrs. Ford?
Yes, sir.
All right, do we have any items we'd like to pull from the consent agenda? Nothing? Okay, guess we're ready for a vote.
Dr. Highlander?
Yes.
Mrs. Hill?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. McClendon?
Yes.
Mr. Perez?
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman?
Yes.
Chairman Wingate?
Yes. All right, so I believe that brings us down to our administrative business matters. We have 3 items for consideration there. The first would be the bus driver contracts for the year 2021, 2022. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second?
I'm sorry, who motioned it?
Joe Smith.
Okay. And who seconded it?
Tiffany?
Thank you.
All right, do we have any discussion? Mrs. Thurman.
Yes, I've talked to Justin about this before, but I just want to ask these questions about the bus driver contract, just so that the bus drivers will know what's been asked and they can hear the answers. There was some concern about the part in the contract where it says that bus drivers need to be available 4 hours before and 4 hours after they were off of duty. Can you explain that, Justin, please?
Yes, ma'am. Those are in cases of like extreme emergencies, and an example of this is in the event that something were to unfortunately happen at Sequoia, we're part of the emergency response, and so that would be an example of where they would need to be on call. If it was something other than that, I can't even think off the top of my head what it would be, but of course they would be compensated for time that's outside of their normal route.
Okay, and then I also, I spoke to Scott Bennett about this and Justin as well. There was some concern that there was something about you had to adhere to all state law, and they said that was very vague because even you're in non-compliance if you even have a broken tail light or a tail light that wasn't working or a headlight that wasn't working, and you're in violation of state law, and they thought they may get fined for that. But Scott assured me that that was not the case. If you want to clear that up, Scott.
Sure. So the state board regulations have some very specific requirements about the operation and maintenance of school buses. And so what we're talking about there is if the bus is not maintained in a way that complies with state law, something that a trooper would see and flag us for, that's what that's talking about. I mean, if they've got a broken taillight, we might want to know how that taillight got broken, but the fact that it's inoperative is not something that's necessarily going to get flagged. They'll get warned, it'll get fixed. So that's not intended to be an onerous provision, nor is it intended to be a gotcha.
Okay. And a couple of more things. There was a concern, I forgot to mention this one to you, Justin, but that I know that some of them have been asked to take drug tests. This call said you need to show up for a drug test, and maybe they work another job and couldn't leave immediately. And there's been a little bit of concern about that, but I really didn't see that in the contract.
Penny,
So I'm-
can you help with that? That's part of the drug testing for workers that are
Because some of them
in-
couldn't leave immediately and were saying, well, if you can't, you may not be able to drive or something like that. Can we do something to make that a little bit more lenient for people that do have another job, bus drivers?
Yeah, Penny, can you help me with it's the drug testing for workers that are in operationally sensitive? What is, so if they're called in and they're, say, 50 miles away and can't get it, is it within 20, help us with the procedure
Yeah.
there.
It's within 24 hours, I believe, Scott. So, if they're called in and they're, too far away, we'll bring them in, first thing that next morning, so.
Okay, because some of them have been warned, well, you have to get in, if you're not, you won't be able to drive. I just want to be sure they do have a 24-hour window.
But
Okay.
we'll double check on that, yeah.
Okay, and then there's another one, the Zonar. Some of them say they don't know if it's operational or not, that if it's not, that they wish that the central office, Brandon or whoever, would let them know that the Zonar is not working, because they have no way of knowing if it's turned on, if it's not working. They don't know it's not working. And the same thing with the videos. Sometimes they don't know that they're not working, so they need to be notified if it's not working.
Yeah, we can work with that, but it is their responsibility to ensure that it is working. And they should have, you should be able to look at it, and I think there's a sensor light that shows that it's operational. So that is their responsibility. Now, clear up some, on top of that is, if it is not operational, all they have to do is let us know. And if it's not operational for that day, they're not penalized for that. We'll go out and fix it for them.
Okay, all right, those are the questions I had. Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Okay, Mrs. Ford.
Dr. Highlander,
Yes.
Mrs. Hill,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. McClendon,
Yes.
Mr. Perez,
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman,
Yes.
Chairman Wingate.
Yes. All right, the next item there would be the tuition rates for the 2021-2022 school year. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
All right, do we have any discussion on that item?
I think it might be important to explain to people how we come to this number.
Sure.
Justin, if you could just tell it for the public to understand.
Yes, ma'am. It's a simple formula. So basically for like an out-of-county resident, we get the state dollars and then subtract the local contribution to it to come up with that. And the same thing that we do for an out-of-state. The rates actually went down a little bit this year, but it's the same formula every year.
I think it's important for people to understand we don't come up with that number. It has a reason why we come up with that number. Okay, thank you.
All right, any other discussion? All right, Mrs. Ford.
Dr. Highlander,
Yes.
Mrs. Hill,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. McClendon,
Yes.
Mr. Perez,
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman,
Yes.
Chairman Wingate.
Yes. All right, that brings us to our last item here, the custodial services contract. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have some discussion. Mrs. Thurman?
Yes. Well, we had quite a bit of discussion about this on Monday. I still feel the same way today as I did on Monday. I feel like that ABM has done a good job. Of course, we did have a come to Jesus meeting with them, and I do think they improved a lot of things. I just don't feel like spending the additional $680,000 is a very good thing to do. I think back of our bus contract, we spent an additional $1 million, and then the teacher substitute, I guess it was the substitute, I can't even think of the name of the.
ESS.
Yeah, yes, thank you. We have given them, we spent, I forget how much money for their contract. I mean, was it a couple of million? I can't remember, it was a lot. How much was it?
We'll have to go back and look, but it wasn't that substantial.
Well, it was, I can't remember exactly what the number was, but I know it was quite a bit. And I'm not sure that it works any better than the system that we had in place before. So I just have a problem with spending additional money at this time and not knowing exactly if the new contract may not work out, the new company may not work out any better than what we already have. But there's nothing against the new company. You know, I expect them, because I will be calling them as well. If they do get this contract, I will be calling them just like I do at ABM when I have a problem. And some of these schools that aren't clean, a lot of that time it must be a principal problem, because I can't imagine having dirty bathrooms for a week in a school and the principal not being here jumping up and down on our lectern saying, you know, get this fixed. So a lot of that time I think could be an administration problem, maybe that they need to let us know and let the superintendent know what's going on. But anyway, that's where I am. It's nothing against the new company. At this time, I just don't like spending that additional money. Thank you.
Mrs. Jones?
So we did talk about this extensively on Monday. I went home Monday night and researched, read the proposal again. Justin sent the other proposal, and I did, contrary to me being sarcastic with Dr. Highlander, I did skim all that packet and read that as well. And then I took the time, as I always do with major decisions such as this, to reach out to my 8 administrators. I was not able to talk to 3 of them, but I did talk to 5 of them. And I took notes over here. And I am a social worker. You better know it. But I'm not a mathematician, but I did do some math the other night, the old school Hamilton County math that Rhonda always talks about. And what I did, well, I mean, I was Chattanooga City. I rolled over to Hamilton County, so I got a little bit of both, right? That's the both worlds. But what I did realize was that the bid, we know what SSC is bidding. The bid for ABM was 12.2. I looked at what we're currently paying ABM, which is 11.5. We pay an additional 2.2 for sanitization and disinfecting, which is about 13.5 right now. When we put the bid out for sanitization and disinfecting, we went with HCS. Am I saying that right? HES. HCS was all these H's and S's. But anyway, we went with the lowest bid, which was 2.2, because our current cleaning service had a high bid. It was about $4 million. $4,828,283 to be exact was what their bid was. So we couldn't go with the company that was already cleaning our buildings because they bid higher than what another company did. And if we had went with them, let me know if my math wrong, Rhonda, we would have been paying them $15.5, which is more than what they bid coming at this current bid for this next RFP. And I'm kind of confused as to why it would have cost $15.5 initially, but now it's going to cost 12.2. But you know, I'm a social worker. However, that was very big to me when we have a company that's bidding that can do all of it for what they're offering us. And it's bringing some local dollars into our economy. They're going to pay taxes into our local economy, not into the state of New York and some other places. And so I did do a little research with that. I did also think about the ESSER funds, and I thought about maybe part of that funding could offset the cost for some things like sanitization and electrostatic spraying, because that's COVID related, right? Which will reduce some money. So I did kind of figure out how this may seem costly, but we have some funds that could possibly offset that, and ultimately for the health and safety of our children, because we do want them all back in the building in August. And like I said, I know for me, when I go buy Clorox, it's now like $4, and it used to cost me $1.99 or $1.89. So I know things have went up. But I do want to say, I said all that to say that I know that it seems like we're paying more, but we're actually, with the cost of living, with the cost of things and supplies, we're actually, I feel like, getting a better deal. And from previous experience having worked in healthcare, I have seen what it looks like when you transition. When I worked at Erlanger, we went from Sodexo to Aramark. I saw what that looked like when you change morale and things change. When you have better training, you have better outcome. Sometimes you just have to have that change. We've seen what that looks like as a district, right? We have a new leader. We have a new executive cabinet. We have all files on our walls. The morale and stuff is building up. So I've seen what that looks like. But above all of that, when I talk to my administrators, and my complaints with ABM are not personal at all. I've never had a problem with the landscaping company. Like I said, when I talked about that the other day, he actually did cut the grass for me because it was a ball field, and guess what? It wasn't in his contract to cut the ball field. So I had no problems with Legacy, period. My concern has always been with ABM, and it's been with the company, not the workers. In my buildings in District 5, I have some fabulous workers. Mr. Grady, Miss Mary, Mr. Leroy. I mean, they're awesome people, and they do a good job when they don't have the supplies they need for days and weeks at a time, when they have to buy it out of their own pockets, that I know this to be true, when they have to struggle about if they're gonna stay on their job because they have a death in their family and they don't get bereavement leave. Those are things that matter to me. Those are things that matter to me, how you treat your staff. I know for a long time, they were making $9 and $10 and they were staying until 11 and 12 o'clock cleaning up at the basketball games when people just come in there and throw their nachos down when they get done. Or when kids get mad and they want to urinate on walls and do all of that, they clean that, they do that. They did it for chump change, and yes, ABM stepped up. To me, that was reactionary. That was reactionary. They've got a lot of complaints. Now, there are times when I know I've personally had to complain to ABM, and the direct staff and supervision here locally has addressed that. My administrators have said that as well. We don't have problems with them either. We don't have problems with our workers. We don't have problems with the administration that steps up to do whatever. The issue is with the company. Like I said Monday, for me, I felt like the love affair was over, but I did get calls. I got emails asking about ABM and supporting ABM. I also got calls asking not to support ABM. Got emails asking not to support ABM. So for me, I will not be voting for anything other than to take on this current contract, which is why I second the motion, because I do think it's time for a change. I do not want to continue to give people opportunities to fix things when they're being reactionary and not proactive. I just don't, and I find the value in supporting local. I find the value in the company wanting to support local, and I find value in giving our students a cleaner environment. And so that's just where I'm at with that. But I did want to share that I wasn't sure about what the bid was for ABM with the cleaning, but when I saw that it was extensively higher, and I didn't quite understand it, because if you're already cleaning our buildings, then you should know your standard of cleanliness. So to me, it shouldn't have cost that much. Maybe I'm looking at it differently, but I did want to share those things. And the biggest outcome from administrators were that we have great workers, but they never have what they need. And they're always making the personal sacrifice. And when you're already making low dollars to come out of your own pocket for stuff that you need to do your job, to me, it's just unacceptable.
Thank you. Mr. Perez.
Thank you. I didn't expect that this would be such a difficult decision, to be honest. Like, it's a really difficult decision as we look forward. I think the $700,000, $680,000 a year cost is significant. It's not insignificant. It's not to dismiss. And I hate waste. And to me, waste in this manner can come in two ways. It can be waste if we spend money that's unnecessary to spend. But really reflecting, to me, it's also waste if we spend money on services we don't get, and services that aren't up to the level that is expected and anticipated. I said this when we had, as you said, a come to Jesus moment. I appreciated that they came and spoke to us, but I actually left that meeting unsatisfied, would be a term to use, in that one, we had been spending a level of money that did not deliver the services we were expecting for a period of time, and that, as a taxpayer too, bothered me, right? Like, I don't understand. And I asked on Monday, I'll ask it here again for those that don't care to listen on Monday, but I asked, I want to make sure, and I want to ask that again, I want to make sure that as we move forward in the contract, we are protecting our finances. We should never have to go and request money back from a company for the services they've provided. But I want to know what is put into place, whoever we vote on as a board. I want to know what is put into place to protect us from spending money on services that are not at the level that we expect for our schools.
So we talked about this Monday, but to reiterate it, one thing that's in this contract or in this RFP, which contract is based on, is there are penalty clauses that if services aren't performed, the company will be penalized. It's similar to what we have in our first student bus contract. and we've included in this contract as well. One other thing that we put in, and it's super tight, but if there is a deficiency and it's made known to SSC, they have 10 days to remedy that deficiency. And so one thing that we talked about back in the fall.
Define deficiency, Dr. Robertson, if you
So
mind.
a deficiency, some common things that we heard back in the fall would be things like we're not replacing trash can liners, or floors aren't getting swept. So if I go to Val Emery, who's here with us today, and Seth Farrell, the CEO of SSC, if I call Val and I say, Val, or send him an email, School X, the cafeteria is not getting swept, and we're getting an issue with insects, right? That's got to be corrected immediately, and within 10 days, if it's not, that's when we can get into a point where we're talking about backing out of a contract. I fully don't expect that to come into play, but those two things, in my opinion, are two of the larger pieces that protect us from what you're saying, that when we pay for something, that we're getting that service. And if we're not getting it, we have a way to collect on not getting that service.
Okay, thank you. So, as I've processed, one of the thoughts I've had is, one, and I asked Dr. Robertson, I think yesterday or the day before, one of these days, what again the other bids? Remember, there were 6 bids, and 3 of them were disqualified right away. And I think the highest of those was how much, Dr. Robertson?
Just over 22, I think.
Yeah,
believe it's 22.8.
so they started at 22 million, and then the 3 lowest were 13 million to 12.2 million. And so we're picking from the 3 lowest, and of those, and to me, I went to kind of the idea in my head of if we were buying computers, buying the cheapest computer is not always the best option, because it may break down in a year or 2 years. And so it's where I, to me, believe and hope that we are actually protecting our taxpayers' dollars, is by ensuring that the services that we are paying for are the services we get. So here's where I'd like to address, if it is SSC and they're in the room, and we don't know who it will be until the vote. But 2 things with you, and I apologize because I'm going to use Spanish here just for a second, but in Spanish, we have a phrase, toda nueva escoba barre bien. Every new broom sweeps well. And it's actually very, very key to this sort of work, right? When you come in, I don't doubt that you'll get us to an APA level 1, whatever that means. And that in year 1 you'll be great, but our expectation as a board is that you will actually achieve the results that we are asking year after year after year after year. It's not how you start, but it's how you end, and so we hold that expectation. I think what Ms. Jones said is true. We have some excellent custodians, and I do hope and expect really that you will reach out, if you are the ones that we vote on, that you will reach out to the schools and make sure that we give opportunity to them, and hopefully they will receive those benefits that we've talked about, and they will be satisfied and happier if that's the choice. And then one more thing that I know is not in the plan and in the proposal, but I heard the same thing others heard. The issues with landscaping were not the same as the issues with that some schools have experienced with administration, and so hopefully you'll be able to reach out to some of those as well, because I actually don't understand why those 2 are the same proposal, but since we're outsourcing the landscaping even within the proposal, but that's we won't go through another RFP, so I'll accept it. But it's unfortunate because there were some local companies that were doing landscaping, and I heard from everybody on both sides, both ways, and I do anticipate that whoever is there will fulfill excellence. And one more and last statement. We heard from many people saying the money should go to students and teachers. And I will argue that clean schools and quality schools actually goes to students and teachers. That teachers walking in, we once, in the work that I did at lunch, had Senator Corker come and visit one of our classrooms one time, and he asked to, I won't say where, and he asked to use the bathroom, and literally the students said, no, you can't use the bathrooms. And he asked why, and he said they're not adequate. And he said, if they're not adequate for you, they're not adequate for us. Sorry if he doesn't want that to be public. It's too late, right? But I really admired that. Like, that's true. If it's not adequate for students, it's not adequate for anybody else. And our bathrooms all across consistently, because that's one of the realities that has not been consistent, all across, our bathrooms, our classrooms, our courts, any area that our students use is expected all across the school to be excellent. So whoever leads forward, I really hope we hold them accountable, and internally as the school, we hold those who are supposed to hold them accountable to do that work as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McClendon.
Yeah, so I wasn't here on Monday, so I didn't get to get into the in-depth conversation. I was on this committee with Dr. Robertson and I think 3 principals and Justin Witt and Dr. Towns. And it was a long process. We have to score everyone. We have to go through those 6 250-page binders. And it's something I took very seriously. I've had major issues in mine, and I was front and center with ABM in the fall when we had that Come to Jesus meeting. Honestly, and credit to Dr. Robertson, we went above and beyond in this process. We did callback interviews with our top 3 again. When we kind of narrowed it down, we asked for every account that SSC has, and they gave it to us, and we broke it down, and I think we ended up calling 10 to 15 school districts, and it was just, I was blown away with what they were saying. They help here, they help it was not what I had seen. And so I'm going to support SSC. I think the elephant in the room, yes, the $600,000, and I think Marco, Mr. Perez, you hit the nail on the head. I think it's a George Bush quote, "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me."
That's a grandma quote.
Huh?
That's everybody's grandma.
Yeah, everybody's quote. And that's kind of what I see. I struggle with the money. I really do. But at what point are you just throwing $12 million down the drain when you're getting mediocre service? Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to labor on that right now. So some of the just stuck out to me about SSC. They came at us with a $13.25, I can't remember the exact number, wage. Their benefits are above and beyond what ABM has. New equipment, better recruitment, better training. One thing I could just tell was leadership matters. And we've seen that in our own district. We see it in our own schools. Every one of us have principals that are just rock stars, and we can see the difference they make in our buildings. And then one thing, I run the Chattanooga market, so local, I'm as local as you can get. Every year, we're going to be putting $4 million back into our own local economy. That's $16 million over the life of this contract, the first 4 years. I want to see more of that out of this board. That's keeping our money here, our taxpayers' money here in Hamilton County, and that's big to me. I think 33% of this contract is local, and that's just great. I've said my piece, about why I think ABM shouldn't get this contract, and it's been a bit personal to me in some aspects because I've been so ingrained in it. But this didn't happen in this last fall. This was I'll never forget the first conversation I had with Miss Lennon when she was on the board. She was having problems in her district, and then I got problems. I think in the first month of last school year, there was 800 complaints. I think it was a very reactionary stance we saw. They weren't going to raise the wages for their employees until they got called out on it. They just weren't. And this is what struck me when they came. They said the evolution of the contract they have and operate under today is the same contract it was 7 years ago, and they did not meet that. And that's where it just, as a board, it does fall on us some responsibility, but we are paying them to meet a contract, and they did not meet it. And something else that just showed, I guess, the leadership aspect of what I was talking about is, and I think I sent this to y'all probably it might have been January or December, I can't remember, but they brought in a team to audit our schools after all this happened. If you go through that report, you'll see principal was unavailable, principal was unavailable, principal was unavailable, talk to secretary, they didn't even care to meet with our principals about this. I don't want to be met with, go talk to my principals at East Ridge Elementary. Funny story, I was walking with ABM senior leadership about a year and a half ago at East Ridge Elementary. We walked in this teacher's classroom. She's been there about 8 years. And she just kind of let us have it. I mean, she was coming after me. I mean, it was, she was like, my classroom's never been mopped. It rarely gets swept, and look at these stains on the floor. They wrote down the door number. I'm thinking it's going to be great. They're getting it fixed. We walked in there last week with the president of ABM Education Services, and I wanted to check on this teacher. The same stains were there on that floor. It was never mopped after that. And that tells me everything I need to know. And that's where I think leadership matters. And I could be totally wrong about SSC. I could, and we could be here. But I just can't justify rewarding a company that has not met a contract with another $12 million contract. And we want to be good stewards of taxpayer money. And that's just throwing it down the toilet, I think. I get it's a lot of money. We have the money, we have the funds to make it work. And at the end of the day, I'm not the one. None of the people on this board are the ones that have to walk into bathrooms with no soap, with stuff on the floor, no paper towels. That's our students. That's our teachers. This doesn't really affect me. At the end of the day, I want what's best for our teachers and what's for our students. And I think we have to do something to make sure our schools are clean, especially in this day and age. We had to go, if they were meeting the contract, we wouldn't have to go out and get a disinfecting services. Our buildings were going to be clean. We shouldn't have to worry about that. We had to go spend another $2.2 million to just get our buildings clean, so parents would feel safe taking their kids or letting their kids go back to school when COVID first started in August. So I get the money, I get that, I do, but I think it's a disservice to reward a company that has not met a contract with another contract. I think that quote I said, "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me." It's up to the board. I mean, we could go with ABM, and we're sitting here in another year, and they're back to their old ways. Of course, they changed their things. They were up for a contract, and so I just think there's a clear distinction in these two companies. ABM, they do have. We've worked with them, but I just think that the SSC brings something new to the table for us, and I truly believe, and y'all better not prove me wrong, that we'll get our contract met at the end of the day, and our schools will be clean.
Mr. Smith.
We're really talking about $3 million, not $680,000 over the life of the contract. I got a lot of calls just like all of you do, and I really want to be sensitive. I mean, Tiffany and Krista, I heard y'all loud and clear the other night about your schools, and I want to be sensitive to that. I met with every one of my principals over the last 2 days, and consistently they say, Joe, it has gotten better. has gotten better. They also say, and I thought this is interesting, that they love their custodians. They love their people that, you know, actually work there. And they say, but consistently broken down machines, do not have the supplies they need, you know, that kind of thing. So it does almost sound like a leadership issue. It does. $680,000 a year is a lot of money. And if you want to say all these things, I'll say one. The devil you know may be better than the devil you don't know. Who knows? Who knows? And then a question I would have, I'm not going to vote for this. I just think it's too much money, and I think we owe it to the taxpayers to be stewards. My big question would be, and I certainly don't have the answer, have we done a good job, or have we done what we needed to do to hold ABM accountable? And I don't know the answer to that. But if we don't hold whoever our new one is accountable, we'll be right back here. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mrs. Thurman?
Yeah, just one thing. I agree with Caritza about the supplies. I think that was the thing that I got the most complaints about through the years, is not having the supplies that they needed, cleaning supplies. And I think that gets down to, you have, I won't call it a quota, I'm not sure exactly what they call it, where you try to keep it down to a minimum and don't go over that. If you do, you get a bonus and that kind of thing. I don't like that. I don't like that, I tell you. I don't care if it's your company, I don't care whose company it is. I don't like getting bonuses if you come in under budget on a certain month because you haven't given the schools what they want. That's not our problem, that's your problem. I just don't like, not having the toilet paper and all the kind of things in the bathroom they need and the cleaning supplies they need. So whichever company it is, that's something that needs to be addressed. And that's like you said, Joe, it's up to this board to hold them accountable for that. But the extra $2 million, that's a little bit vague because that was a COVID thing. They had to go in and disinfect, and we never saw all of that stuff coming. So I can't really hold ABM to that having to get $2 million more to do all that because none of us saw that coming. But anyway, that's just where I'm coming from, regardless of which company does it. I don't want our students to suffer because they're trying to meet quotas or trying to stay within budget or come in under budget so somebody can get a bonus or get an attaboy and pat on the back. That's not our problem, that's your problem. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, let me just add one more thought. Because we do this a lot around here, we'll have committees involved in making decisions or bringing back to us certain recommendations, and we need to trust these committees. They've done their work. They're the ones that sit in front of all these folks, and we need to do that. And I know that this committee, I know they work very hard, so we'll hold them accountable if it don't work.
Mrs. Robinson?
You accountable, Joe.
And the voters.
Yeah. Well, first I want to tell Tucker, thank you for your passion on this topic. I have actually been looking to hire someone to clean my own house, and I actually think I'd like to put you in charge of finding that person. So I'm sitting here judging myself, listening to you, like thinking about how disgusting my own house is. So I certainly don't want to belabor the point. I'm no doubt ready to vote on this topic, and also made a lot of comments about this on Monday, really to the effect that my schools have most definitely been a big issue with ABM service, so I won't go into that. But it's been a topic for the last 4 years while I've been here on the board, and Miss Lennon really carried the torch on this topic too. So there are a couple things that I do want to like kind of go on the record pointing out. One is that I do want to just point out that I do wish that the landscaping contract was not associated with the janitorial contract. I stated it on Monday, but there are a number of people that live in my district that are employed by that landscaper, and I'm sure and I'm positive that City Green is a fantastic employer. But I am worried about their livelihood, and so I do hope that if you do receive the contract, I hope there's an opportunity for those families that are in my district. So, and of course, I hope that if you hire them, that they will be excellent employees for you. So, I have no doubt had great reviews from the current landscaper for that. And no doubt, I think that company is also a very good company. So I do hate that they are, potentially losing this contract. The other thing that I wanted to bring a little bit of attention to, and it really has nothing to do with anyone on this board, but today I received a number of anonymous text messages and phone calls in support of ABM, and was actually very disappointed in the format in which these complaints were, or what they were being geared toward. And Mr. Lloyd, thank you so much for speaking to us earlier. I think that hiring local is incredibly important. To Kritza and Marco and Tucker's points, it's incredibly important. And I hope that we can find a way to format our contracts to really hire local employees or local companies the way that Mr. Lloyd's getting an opportunity in this vote. There's a term called groundwater, and that's really changing the real root of any issue. And by hiring locally, we're really changing the groundwater. So as a board member, I'm going to be really pushing that we really start looking at all of our RFPs in that way, and hopefully putting a policy in place to where we can really start employing local companies and giving people that have never had the kind of capital opportunity that Mr. Lloyd is going to have with SSC if they win the contract, those type of opportunities, because that is what really changes our community. But I was really disappointed in these anonymous text messages and the kind of exploitation that it was attempting to do. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because if you are listening to this board meeting and you are the person or the people that sent me those text messages or called me, and you were basically trying to bully me into making a decision based on someone's background and perhaps a mistake that they've made in the past, I can promise you that that will never work with me. And I don't actually think it would work with anyone on this board, because we are highly ethical people, and we believe that people deserve second chances, and they believe they deserve opportunity. So whoever you are, I know that you're probably watching this because you clearly care deeply about this vote. And I'm glad that you're a concerned citizen, but in the manner in which you went about expressing your views or attempting to sway my vote was very, very poor judgment. And I just hope that people can really begin to see past issues that they create in their heads by trying to expose someone's past. And again, I believe in opportunity for all, and I believe that supporting small and local businesses is way more important than necessarily something that someone has done in their past 15 years ago. So I just want to state that because our board doesn't function that way, and the public needs to hear that.
Thank you. Mr. McClendon.
Yeah, one thing I left off, one thing I heard a lot about was ABM employees. I've got family that works for ABM. What happens to their job, or you're just going to hire the same people? I want them to hire the same people. We have some killer ABM employees that have not been empowered to do their job or given the resources to do their job.
Or treated fairly.
And treated fairly. I think that's a big key here is when I talk to AB employees, and I make it a point to talk to my AB employees when I'm in a school. I don't have the resources to do this. To Ms. Mosley Jones's point, they were like, I had to go buy toilet paper for this bathroom or something like that. And so I think it's if I was an AB employee, and I can't speak because I'm not one, but I'm getting a company that has a track record. It could change, but they have a track record based on the people I talk to from Arizona to South Carolina to Virginia, that they empower their employees and they give them what they need to succeed. So I think that's important to put out there because I know there's ABM employees probably watching this and they're on edge, and I completely understand. But everything from my standpoint is you're going to get what you need to succeed and have the resources you need to succeed, and that's what excites me about this. Is we're doing, I think a good thing for them in the long run.
Well, I got one thing I want to ask. I want to make sure. I want to clarify. So, we did get the email, Mr. Bennett, with the adjustment to contract, correct? So that is now 4 years. Yes, sir. With the option of 3 one-year extensions, as opposed to, because still in our packet here, we have 5 years with the option for 2. So I just want to make sure that's clear to everybody. That since Monday, would you clarify? Yeah, give us some legalese, Mr. Bennett.
If it's not right in the packet, the corrected term that we spoke to SSC with after Monday night's meeting is a 4-year contract with 3 one-year options for 1-year extensions.
Yes.
Well, we need to find where the contract is, because that's the one that Mr. Bennett sent to me.
I've got a 4-year one online.
Okay.
What I've got is 4 years. If you look at.
Yeah, that's what it is, the one that Scott
Can
sent
you
on
tell
the,
me-
on the
can you tell me
17th.
that page?
On the email.
If you look at page.
It's under number 5 term.
Okay.
I'm on the board agenda right now.
No, not on the board agenda. Scott sent an email on March 17th.
I got that, I got
No.
that.
Oh, okay.
I got that.
But
Okay.
the board agenda was updated with what Scott sent to me.
Yes, and
Okay.
so, all right, let's just, what the board is voting on, what is in your packet, what was moved and approved, moved and seconded is the custodial contract. And if you look at page 4, paragraph 5, term,
Right.
it's a 4-year term. June 1, 2021, it has an initial 4-year term through May 31, 2025. It's 4 years.
On page 4.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I was looking on page 1, it still says 5 on the memo.
Mr. Chairman, that's.
But
that's
I
my-
get, I
that's
understand
board
that
memo.
the contract act supersedes the memo.
Yeah. And
But
I'll
I'm
say-
just saying on the memo.
I didn't draft the memo.
Is that on the
Okay.
memo?
Okay.
See, Joe, you should have had some of that city mail.
Had that what? I got
Some of that
city mail.
county mail.
I got city mail.
So, but, Mr. Chairman, so to your point, we made that change, per the board's concerns about binding future boards. We reduced it from 5 years to 4. The buyout clauses, were adjusted to reflect that changed amortization, and I believe that's the only change that we've made since Monday.
Okay. Well, and I'll just say quickly that, and I will echo Tucker, thank you for your passion on this, because I would easily have said before this that custodial contracts have not been on my radar as heavily as some other things that I'm passionate about. So I'm serious. I thank you for how you've delved into this matter for all of us. Yeah, it's good. But my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that our expectation for the level of cleanliness is going to be the same for whoever receives the contract. As that goes back to those clauses that have already been agreed to by SSC. And I'll also say, I want to echo what Dr. Johnson said the other night, and I've said this a lot about many things. I too just expect excellence. I expect excellence in what we do, and I want to make sure that our building leaders and our teachers hear this, that, you know, the vendor that this contract is awarded to, they work for us. They work for the school system. And I have been a little disappointed in, I too don't really want to hear from an administrator or a teacher that, hey, my room hasn't been cleaned in 10 days. If I want to hear from you, and I want to hear it after 2 days, so that that the level of accountability presses down on the vendor, so that they understand how important cleanliness is to all of us, and that it's not a 2-week deal before that is ever communicated to someone who can help get that remedied. So I want them to hear that. And I don't want the vendors to hear that the expectation is excellence. And I don't want to hear that we don't have toilet paper. I don't want to hear that we don't have soap. And there's no bottom line strategy or business model that's ever going to help me understand that when we're talking about working with a public entity who serves children and families. So again, my expectation is for those vendors or vendor to do their job to a high level. But again, I also say, and I'm thankful here recently that it seems like a lot of the contracts that we've had to enter into, it appears to me, from the outside before and now the inside for the last 5 years, that we've done a better job, or let me back up, the school system has done a better job of constructing contracts with nuance that help to hold those that we do business with accountable in the way that we would want to have them held accountable. So thank you all, district administration and others who have constructed those to be able to do that. And I too have received some anonymous communications, and I'll just say, I told my wife last night, it was a level of frustration. Tiffany, thank you for making a reference to just the integrity of this board. I'm thankful for all of you all. I've gotten to know all of you pretty closely, and Mr. Perez, we'll get to know you as we work together a little bit more, but I can't.
Thankful right
No,
now.
I am, but I can't speak
That's
enough.
his way of telling you he likes
I can't speak enough to you all, to your dedication to the school system, and it's admirable. And what I will say is, and I'll say this publicly, if you attempt to communicate with me and you don't address me or you don't leave your name, you're not getting a response. There have been a couple of times where I've sarcastically responded with, you forgot to mention who you are, and I don't have time for that. We're about trying to improve the school system and add value to the community that we live in, and those types of things don't do anything to add value. So I wanted to make sure that I addressed that. But also to end, I want to make sure that as a system that we're holding people accountable. And so school building leaders, I'm talking to you, and I'll advocate for you all and teachers all that I can. But I don't feel sorry for you when your cafeteria has not been cleaned for 3 or 4 days, and you need to have a little backbone, and you need to go confront that janitor because they work for you. Don't make a phone call. Don't make a phone call to Hickory Valley. You need to walk over and you need to explain to that janitor we have a problem. And if we don't get it corrected, we're going to have a bigger problem. Because I know in the past I've worked for principals, their schools were clean. And it didn't matter who was doing the cleaning. Because if the individual in charge of doing the cleaning was not getting it done, they weren't there very long. And so my expectation too is in our school system that teachers and administrators step up. Confrontation is okay, and things get done when we do that. So, and I will work with and for and hold accountable whoever the vendor is that gets this contract. So,
One question.
Mrs. Hill?
I just have a quick procedural question. My understanding with our RFP process is that if we vote tonight on the recommended vendor, and if we decide not to move forward to approve this contract, that the RFP process begins again. Is that correct?
Not necessarily. So you bid out the contract. If the board accepts the recommendation of the administration, and then that's the judgment of the board that that's the lowest and best. But you also have the template that the committee has generated, so it's within the purview of the board to take one of the other responders if you so choose. So you have the jurisdiction to take anyone who's on the plate. Alternatively, if you decide, you know what, we're not happy with any of these, put it out again and let's see who else comes in. You also have that authority.
All right, so we have a motion to approve and a motion to second the rewarding of the contract to the recommended vendor. So we're ready. Mrs. Ford?
Dr. Highlander?
No.
Mrs. Hill?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. McClendon?
Yes.
Mr. Perez?
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
No.
Mrs. Thurman?
No.
Chairman Wingate?
No. So the motion carries. All right, that brings us to our events and announcements.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
just a point of clarification. A while ago, when we voted on the bus
Right.
contract.
That's what I was going to, you're going to ask what I was getting ready to ask.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. Just want to make sure, because I think the chair mentioned 2021. And I believe that contract is good until 2024.
Okay.
So just
Yeah.
for a matter of record.
It's a 4-year contract.
4-year contract.
With options to extend from there.
Yeah, with options to
So
extend.
we were, our phones
So
were
it's-
getting blown up.
So it's a typo
Yeah.
on,
First mistake you've ever
no,
made.
it's all good. I make plenty. I make plenty. All right, thank you. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. All right, so on the events and announcements, take a quick look here. So we'll have another budget work session scheduled for Monday the 29th at 5:30. And then looks like Friday, April 2nd, will be a holiday leading us into the following week, spring break, April 5th through the 9th. Monday, April 12th, another budget work session there at 4:30. That would be before our agenda session at 5:30, and then our next board meeting Thursday, April 15th at 5:30. All right, we have any other announcements anybody like to make? Okay, meeting adjourned.